Hi, Jenni here. And it's always important to be critical of our favorite things, right? So this video idea came to me a couple of weeks ago, and this has been done on booktube many times. But I thought I would make a video where I read one-star reviews of my favorite books and see if I kind of agree with them or disagree with them on however I react to them. I haven't seen these reviews. My significant other Joel picked them up, and I will go through 7 of some of my favorite books, which can be seen right here. Disclaimer though, I use Storygraph, I don't use Goodreads, and people on Storygraph seem to actually read the books, so there weren't many 1-star reviews, but more like 1.5 or 2-star reviews. So sorry for the clickbait, I'm sorry. And the first book is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Elias. This book is meaningful to me because I did my master's thesis on it. I analyzed the different parts of personality and how they were presented in the book and how the main character Ari Mendoza presented them as well in my master's thesis. And while it's not like my top favorite book, obviously it has a special meaning to me since I did my whole master's thesis on them, 60 plus pages. So let's look at Aristotle and Dante. Okay, so this one has 3 stars. This book came short for me. I'm sorry, sad face. I don't know what the reviewer meant with this. I personally was quite happy with it, and then when Benjamin Elias released the sequel to the book, I was happy with that as well. So, but that's this user's experience, that's fine. Still 3 stars, which I personally think is good. But apparently, according to booktube, 3 stars is not even good, so I'm confused. 2 stars. While the writing was lyrical and interesting, I did not find myself drawn into the story. I actually became pretty irritated with how the characters addressed each other every time they spoke to each other, blah blah blah, Dante, Aristotle, blah blah blah. People don't actually talk to each other like that. Once I noticed this, I couldn't stop and it jolted me every time. I also didn't feel like the characters were accurate to themselves or to the time and place they were in. Everyone was too perfect and in their own little stereotyped role. Okay, where do I begin? The part about everyone was too perfect. I feel like the whole point was that the Ari Mendoza was very flawed and very insecure and like in his own head about himself. But he viewed himself in a certain way when that wasn't really him at all. And I sometimes say people's names when I'm talking to them. Maybe this person doesn't. Didn't feel like the characters were accurate to themselves or to the time. Okay, granted, to the time, I feel like the sequel to Ari Dante felt a bit 2000s-esque when it's supposed to be like in the 90s. However, to themselves is a bit weird because I don't understand what that means. Because the characters are the characters. I don't understand this review. But fair enough. Okay. Oh, we have a rare 1-star review. Never finished it. Listen, what's the fucking point? In my opinion, you shouldn't review books that you don't finish. Because you didn't fucking finish it. You don't know what the book is about. You don't know how the book ends. You don't know the full story of it. I don't think you should review books that you haven't finished. Got halfway through and just wasn't feeling it. I mean, that's fine. But why give it a review then? Just don't finish it. Do people add reviews and stars to books that they did not finish to make their list of read books longer? But they didn't read it. That's so weird. Okay, and now we have a longer one, 2-star review. This book was fine, linguistically pretty dull and repetitive, which is interesting because the other said that it was linguistically very interesting and lyrical. The characters felt pretty flat. The ending seemed pretty, I don't know, weird. Like, yeah, maybe Ari had feelings for Dante, but it felt very strange that his parents were the ones that told him that he was in love with him. I don't know, obviously that was going to be the ending all along. I just wish it would have felt like a better build-up instead of a repressed/angry boy who constantly talks about girls being pretty, being told he's in love with his friend, and that being the real catalyst aha moment. Also, the title seemed kind of unnecessarily long and tedious when the secrets of the universe were mentioned here and there, but didn't feel important or like the point of the story. Maybe I missed something here. Maybe I just had higher expectation of a book like this after reading some, like, I'll Give You the Sun especially given its rating on Goodreads. It works for you, awesome. For me, it was just kind of ready to get through it already. I also have no real feelings about Lin-Manuel Miranda, so I guess if you love him, the audio may be more exciting. Okay. 3 stars for me means I didn't hate the experience of reading it, but it was pretty meh about it overall. Not a bad book, just not a good one. For me, the characters didn't feel flat. I wouldn't have done my master's thesis on Ari Dante if I thought the characters were flat. I don't know, because to me it was so interesting how differently Ari experienced himself and who he actually was. Okay, the title is cool in my opinion, but it is quite long. The title of my master's thesis is even longer because the book title is so long. Oh my god. In my thesis, I made a specific point about how when it came to girls and like kissing a girl, Ari was talking about having feelings for them as action, like kissing them. Didn't really talk about how he actually felt, but rather the actions he took. So I don't know. But when it came to Dante, he was very open with how he felt. You know, the parents telling him that he's in love with Dante. I mean, I thought it was interesting because throughout the story we see these very different phases in Ari's relationship with his parents, because he is close with his mom, but dad is a bit more distant. So I felt like it was very important for his parents to acknowledge this and bring up this side of Ari that can be difficult. Basically, I think that his parents saying that, you know, maybe you're in love with Dante, I think it was important because it already showed Ari that he would be accepted following Dante. Maybe I understand some of these points, but again, I just don't agree. And especially I'll Give You the Sun. I actually read I'll Give You the Sun and I thought it was fine, but in hindsight, I thought the relationship between one of the characters, female character, I don't remember any names at all, having or wanting to pursue a relationship while she was underage, and then the guy she was in love with was of age. I thought that was very inappropriate. That felt very uncomfortable, so I don't think it's fair to even compare Ari Dante to a book that featured that. Okay, so that was Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Now moving on to Babel by R.F. Kuang. It's just too slow. I kept thinking my interest would pick up as the plot developed, but unfortunately not. The character development was also very shallow, which made it hard to get more invested. Okay, that's interesting. For me, I didn't feel like it was too slow at all. Of course, the conflict resolution only happened in the very last few pages, so if you are reading just expecting that, then sure, maybe it can feel slow. I couldn't get interested in the characters and the story seemed off to a slow start. I didn't feel like investing the full 22 hours of listening, so is this another person who just didn't even finish it? Again, what is it with the people reviewing books that they haven't finished? DNF adds around 200 pages. Are you fucking kidding me? I think there is a good book eye here, typo somewhere, but the vast amounts of references to historical figures, countries, books and research and places, buildings is far too much that it put me off continuing. It's a shame as the author is clearly talented, but 40% of what I read could have easily been condensed down or edited out together. Again, I don't understand why would you share a star rating if you didn't finish the book. For me, the historical context is very important, especially when we're talking about a topic like colonialism, which is the major theme of this book. So it's important to have that historical context to kind of build on and share this story of colonialism and how it impacts people all around the world. You kind of miss the point there if you just saw it as boring recital of history and historical figures. I'm sorry, I feel like you did. But, you know, that's your opinion. Well, it's not really your opinion because you didn't finish it. About languages, translations, and etymology of words, the British Empire and colonialism, an ode to translators. Reading it is like sitting inside a lecture hall where the professor drones on and on. You can't help but feel sleepy. Too scholarly, it was boring. I don't understand people who read books that are like, hey, this is about this, and then they're like, it was too much about this. Like, what? I felt very engaged with the story throughout, so Yeah, I can see it's a 700-page book. Maybe you're not invested in pursuing that, but it's just funny to me. This book was too much about academia, too scholarly. A book that's based on Oxford is too... Okay, that's your opinion, I guess. The introduction by the author seemed defensive, so it was this sort of defensiveness that I needlessly had in the back of my mind the entire time. It was a weird book. The historical facts now were absolutely useless. I don't think so. My opinion. Because the footnotes sometimes added to real life facts on real life people, I think, and then other times it cleared up in-universe facts about this alternate magical England, or told you stuff about the characters, etc. I liked the characters fine, but their dialogue was them bickering, arguing, sniping at each other. Goddamn. I mean, that's okay. I enjoyed the main character's development and following him along his path, but it just seemed lacking somehow. Maybe that was my problem though, I just wasn't immersed enough. It kept on bugging me, footnotes, the way people spoke, the flatness of its bitterness. I'd still recommend it to people who are more into the genre of reading about people studying stuff in England. What a way to dismiss the whole premise and the theme of colonialism in the book as people studying stuff in England. Wow. And it's kind of magic. Yeah, that's about it. Well, one, this kind of ignored the whole theme of colonialism in the book, so maybe a layer of the story kind of wasn't clear when this person was reading it. Yeah, I have my thoughts about dark academia as well. I feel like it romanticizes things that it shouldn't. The things that this reader found annoying, I personally I like the footnotes. I thought they really added to the concept of the book that was an arcane history. And historical non-fiction books have footnotes, so like... And as for the way the characters talk to each other, I mean, I just thought it was very regular, normal way people talk. In a university settings, I mean, they still like each other, like being around and are kind to each other. But it's just a way to have fun and like points out other people's, like maybe they were wrong at something or something like that. But that reading about people studying stuff is kind of insane to me. Alright, next up is The Hunger Games. It's not on this shelf because it's up here and my other editions are on my last shelf. Let's look at a couple of these. I wasted my time reading this and the other two. I simply didn't care for the ending. It wasn't worth it and I don't think anyone learned anything from it in the end. I don't think we read the same book. Inexplicable Wine Fest. Okay, you come back to me when you have to go battle for your life and kill other people and then see your district completely destroyed and. You go do that and then I'll tell you if this was a wine fest or not. Next up is Hunamdom Bookshop by Hwang Barom, translated by Jonathan. So slow and... Again with the did not finish at 25%, then don't add your fucking review. Sorry, this was so boring and I couldn't keep reading it. I kept falling asleep and honestly don't even know what the heck. The point is with this one, this didn't seem to have a plot. No beginning, middle, end. There is no plot. That's quite a statement. Just boring page after boring page. Someone gave it a glowing 5 stars. No idea how. Because the book discussed how awful the working life and society is, specifically in Korea, but all around the world, how we as human beings are seen as completely worthless unless we are at a very successful, highly productive job. Again, I don't understand people giving reviews when they didn't even fucking finish it. Sorry, I'm getting heated. Another review without a star, couldn't hold my attention, no connection to the characters or non-existent plot. Non-existent plot. But like, I felt like it reflected really well with life. Because life doesn't have a plot. And to me the plot was this woman who had a high-paying office job, had a husband, but then got divorced, bought a bookshop, and then lived her life there. Like, to me that's plenty plot. I don't know about y'all, but... Then, my favorite book of last year, The Instrumentalist by Harriet Constable. I didn't find there was enough narrative tension or interest. If one knows the story, it is fairly straightforward how things end up. Well, I didn't know the story. 1.5 stars. Interesting historical note at the end of the book, but the book itself was repetitive and dragged on. Well, I could have read another 200 pages at least of this book, but whatever. Alright, and finally, we have my favorite Jane Austen books, Pride and Prejudice and Persuasion. Let's start with Persuasion. Worst Jane Austen book I've ever read, and all the characters felt shallow and underdeveloped. Feels unfinished. Well, it is the last book that she published. To me, it's her most mature writing. I felt the characters were very real, and you could feel Anne Elliot's agony. So I don't agree with this, but okay. If you are used to Pride and Prejudice, I can see why Persuasion is not for you. I'm a fake Jane Austen fan. I prefer the movies to the books. God, I hope you don't mean the Netflix adaptation of Persuasion. Rich people go into each other's houses to talk about marriage. Boring. This is a copy of that one review of Pride and Prejudice of these people just visit to each other, except this is not funny. Alright, and then the final one, Pride and Prejudice. 2 stars. I don't know why people like this book so much. Because it's fun, it's witty, it's commentary on society, it has many very interesting characters, the ways different characters, how they connect with others, and oh my god, I could go on and on. Okay, 2 stars. I really don't know, guys. If we're being honest, I read a 5th grade version of this book and then skimmed my copy because I'm terrible. So you didn't read it. It just wasn't interesting to me whatsoever. It was literally just a Victorian soap opera. But I digress. 2 stars because I didn't hate it. Okay, so you didn't read it. You skimmed it. Huh. Editoi pois alusta se storygraphin se, kun mä sanon, että I guess people actually read books, koska ne ei selvästikään lue. Then another 2-star review. I've been meaning to read Jane Austen for a long time, so this was overdue, but it wasn't really worth the wait. Imagine a telenovela in written form. Mostly, it's overly dramatic, gushing and wailing among the world of socialites. Their characters have some depth, but it doesn't tend to feel very substantial. There are a couple of plot twists and turns, a couple of witty caricatures and phrases, and the drama gets turned up in last couple of chapters, but overall it's kind of boring and dreary, not really my thing. Okay, well, if it's not your thing, that's fine. Outside the scope of personal enjoyment, there is social and gender commentary, which was probably of greater importance during the era when it was published. But it's also a bummer how marriage is seen as the ultimate goal and way of validating women's existence. I mean, at the time, it literally was all that. Is that the way it should be? Absolutely not, but at the time it was that. Even the characters in the book who do initially push back against that eventually end up obsessed and swooning over marriage. Well, because Elizabeth fell in love. God forbid a woman falls in love. I feel like dismissing all that important societal observation in Pride and Prejudice as well, it's just telenovela in written form, kind of also dismisses and devalues Jane Austen as an author. At the time and to this day, Pride and Prejudice is such an important book on gender commentary and social commentary. So it's kind of sad to see people dismiss that. Alright, my voice is gone. Listen. People can disagree. People don't have to like my favorite books. I just don't like it when they don't even finish it and say that it's bad. Because if you didn't read it, you don't know the full story. You don't know the full book. So I don't think it's fair to review books that you didn't finish. I don't know. I think some points about Aridante, I understand them, and about other books as well. But in the end, I still love these books and I would defend them till the end. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!